The salty breeze swept inland from the crashing waves, brushing against the rows of cabins dotting the retreat grounds. Laughter echoed from the bonfire pit where teachers mingled over drinks, the clink of bottles and low murmur of gossip blending with the ocean's distant roar. On the surface, it was a much-needed getaway from the pressures of mid-semester chaos, just a group of co-workers escaping to the coast for a weekend of team building. Jack and Megan were the golden couple of the school, young, charismatic, and relentlessly admired by staff and students alike. Jack taught English, his charm matched only by his wit. Megan, the school's drama teacher, had a magnetic presence that pulled everyone in, especially when she smiled like she meant it. Tonight, though, that smile barely touched her eyes. Adam, the PE teacher and unofficial party starter, slapped Jack on the back as he passed, a half-empty beer in hand. "You guys kill me. Always so picture perfect," he chuckled, motioning toward Jack and Megan, who stood stiffly side by side, their fingers just barely touching. Jack forced a grin, eyes flicking to Megan, who glanced away a beat too late. As the night wore on, conversations drifted, and shadows lengthened. Jack slipped away from the firelight, walking toward the edge of the bluffs, phone in hand. He stopped just short of the railing, the ocean yawning open beneath him. In the background, Megan and Adam sat a little too close, talking low, laughing in that way Jack had once thought was just for him. He pulled up the hidden folder on his phone, the one labeled grades, but filled with something else entirely. Screenshots, photos, audio clips, proof. He tapped the livestream app. His finger hovered. Let them smile. Let them laugh. Let them explain this. His thumb pressed down. Go live. 2 months earlier, Jack had noticed the smallest shift. Megan's phone, once casually tossed on the kitchen counter, now rarely left her side. Her screen dimmed quickly, and when it lit up, she tilted it away from his view. At first, he brushed it off. Teachers had group chats after all, but the messages came late, too late. Laughter would echo softly from the other side of the bedroom door even after Jack had gone to bed alone. He tried not to spiral, tried to convince himself it was stress or just distance. But then came the cold silences, the way Megan recoiled ever so slightly when he reached for her hand. Like love had quietly been replaced with obligation. And then there was Adam. Too many moments, lingering glances, inside jokes, a softness in Megan's eyes she no longer had for Jack. When he confided in Sarah, his closest friend since college, her silence said more than any words. "You're not crazy," she finally whispered. "But if it's true, do you really want to know? What will you do with it?" He didn't answer, but deep down, something had already started to harden inside him. A resolve. He wouldn't scream or beg or confront. He didn't need to. He would let the truth expose itself. Over the next few weeks, Jack became a shadow, present, smiling, but always watching. He mirrored Megan's secrecy, tracking message previews and reflections, memorizing passcodes, forwarding call logs to his own inbox. Every new piece of evidence was like another crack in the glass house they'd built together. He wasn't interested in revenge. He told himself that. He just wanted the mask to slip to shatter the illusion, to stop pretending that everything was fine when it was already in ruins. Sarah warned him. Secrets cut both ways, Jack. But he'd already made up his mind. And now, with every puzzle piece gathered, he waited for the right time, the right audience, and one little button that would blow it all wide open. Absolutely. Here's the live stream reveal and aftermath at the resort. Continuing from the previous tension with drama, dialogue, and emotional weight, let me know if you want to dial the intensity up or down. The restaurant overlooked the ocean, glass walls glowing with candlelight and sunset. Faculty filled the long table, laughing over wine and seafood. It was the last night of the retreat, a send-off dinner, celebratory and bittersweet. Jack sat at the far end, opposite Megan and Adam. His phone was face down beside his plate, the screen still quietly streaming to the private group of co-workers, students, and family he'd quietly added. No filters, no captions, just raw footage. Jack stood, lifting his wine glass. Before dessert, he began, "I just wanted to share something, a toast. To honesty." Megan smiled thinly. "That's cryptic." Jack turned to her, then to Adam. "You know, being married to someone is strange. You think you know them. until you realize they've been living a second life, one they rehearsed during drama rehearsals, apparently. The table went quiet. Forks froze midair. Megan stiffened. Jack, what are you doing? I'm letting you talk. He gestured between her and Adam. Go ahead. Say what you've been saying behind my back. Adam cleared his throat. This isn't the time, man. No? Jack tilted his head. Why not now? You two have had plenty of alone time lately. Maybe you'd like to explain the hotel receipt I found? Or the miss you already texts? Megan's face drained of color. Jack, we need to talk about this in private. Jack smiled sadly. You are, just not the way you think. Adam leaned in. Is this some kind of sick joke? Then Megan's phone buzzed. Once, then again, and again. A dozen notifications lighting up the screen faster and faster. She glanced down and froze. Her eyes widened. Jack, what did you do? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. All around the table, phones lit up. People were already watching. Live. Megan's breath caught. You're live streaming this? Jack's voice was low, steady. No lies, no spin, just you, being you. Adam pushed his chair back, rising. You're insane. No, Jack said, standing too. I'm done being silent. The truth deserves its moment. The restaurant buzzed with whispers, eyes darting between the three of them. Megan's face twisted, anger, fear, humiliation swirling together. Jack picked up his phone, ended the stream, and walked out without another word. Megan paced the deck of their shared cabin, her fingers trembling around her phone. Notifications kept coming. Texts from coworkers, missed calls from the principal, even a message from her sister. Is it true? Adam sat on the edge of the bed, hunched forward, jaw tight. He ambushed us. Live, like it's some kind of game show. He broadcasted it, Adam, Megan snapped. Everyone knows. Adam looked up. So what? You didn't care when we were sneaking around. You only care now because people are watching. Don't turn this on me. Outside, the sliding door opened. Jack stepped in with Sarah just behind him. Calm. Controlled. Megan stood, blinking back tears. Jack, please, I didn't mean for... I know what you meant, Jack said evenly. I didn't ruin anything. You did. Sarah hovered near the doorway, silent but steady. Jack stepped forward. You made a choice, he said, voice low but clear. I just made sure you didn't get to lie about it anymore. Adam shot up from the bed. You're a coward, hiding behind a screen like that. Jack didn't flinch. No fists, no yelling, just truth. If you don't like how it looks, maybe you shouldn't have done it. Adam moved like he might charge, but Sarah stepped in, eyes hard. Don't. A long silence settled. Jack looked at Megan one last time, tired, sad, but not angry. You chose your role. Now, live with it. Then he turned and walked out, the ocean breeze following him like a quiet applause. Absolutely. Here's the continuation with return to town and school board. Meeting announced, 400 words. And the school board confrontation, 600 words, keeping the tone tense but grounded in Jack's quiet resilience and the public fallout. By the time Jack returned to town, the fallout had already taken root. Whispers trailed him through the grocery store aisles. Curious stares followed him down the school halls. The live stream had done what it was meant to, cut through the lies. But it had also lit a fire. Parents were demanding action. Students were whispering in corners. Faculty walked a little tenser, unsure where loyalties should fall. The school board called for an emergency meeting. Jack spent the weekend in quiet preparation. Not with legal counsel or desperate defense, but with lesson plans, grading, and long walks with Sarah. He wasn't on trial, not really, but he knew how things worked. Scandal had a way of warping facts, especially when reputations were on the line. He sat in his kitchen the morning of the meeting, staring at his coffee going cold. Then, one by one, the messages started to come in. Mr. L, just wanted to say you're the best teacher I ever had. Hope you're doing okay. You stood up for yourself. That matters. We're behind you, Mr. Lawson. Don't let the board scare you. Some were from students, some from parents, even a few from fellow staff. Outside, Megan and Adam weren't getting the same support. Megan's classes were half empty. Parents had begun pulling their kids from the spring musical. Adam's after-school sports programs were quietly postponed. Their once charmed personas were crumbling under the weight of exposure. Jack didn't gloat. He didn't need to. He just ironed his shirt, tied his tie, and got ready to speak his truth again, this time face to face. The meeting room was packed. Parents lining the back wall, faculty in the front rows, cameras set up by the local news. The air buzzed with anticipation, a kind of nervous static. At the long table sat the board. 5 stern faces, flanked by the principal and legal counsel. Jack sat quietly on one side of the room, Megan and Adam on the other. The board chair cleared her throat. "We're here today to address a breach of conduct and professional ethics within the faculty. Mr. Lawson, we'll begin with your statement." Jack stood slowly, unshaken. He looked over the crowd, not with anger, but clarity. "I've been a teacher for 8 years," he began. "I've always believed that education isn't just about books or tests, it's about trust, about the example we set when students aren't looking." He paused. The room held its breath. "I didn't stream that video to destroy anyone. I did it because I was tired of pretending, of watching students be held to higher standards than the adults teaching them. What kind of message does that send?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. He turned slightly toward Megan and Adam, but didn't address them directly. "When we choose to work in education, we accept a responsibility. To be honest, to lead with integrity, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." He stepped back. No dramatics, just the truth. Megan rose next. Her voice was quieter, shakier. "I know I've made mistakes," she said. "I never meant to hurt anyone. I lost sight of the line between personal and professional. I regret it." But her words fell flat. There was no conviction behind them, only damage control. Adam didn't even bother pretending. "This whole thing's blown out of proportion," he said, arms crossed. "It's a private matter that should have stayed private. Jack ambushed us. That's the real issue." A gasp cut through the room. One board member leaned forward. "Mr. Thomas, are you saying the inappropriate relationship didn't happen?" "I'm saying it wasn't illegal," Adam replied coldly. "Unprofessional? Maybe. But that's not a crime." It was the final nail. The board convened briefly in whispers before the chair spoke again. "We've reached a decision. Mr. Lawson, your conduct, while unconventional, does not violate any policy. Your employment will continue." Jack exhaled slowly. "Ms. Lawson, Mr. Thomas, due to the nature of your actions and the disruption caused, you are both suspended effective immediately, pending further review." Gasps, murmurs. Megan's eyes welled up, but she said nothing. Adam stood, jaw locked, and stormed out. Jack didn't smile. He just nodded and sat back down, quiet in his victory. "Absolutely. Here's the next segment in your story. Jack's rising reputation and new opportunity, 400 words, and final goodbye and Megan's attempt at redemption, 500 words. Let me know if you'd like a version from Megan's point of view later on, or if you want to build toward an epilogue or alternate ending." In the weeks following the board meeting, something shifted for Jack, not just in how others saw him, but in how he saw himself. Students began showing up early to his classes, eager and engaged in a way they hadn't been before. Parents waved to him at drop-off with genuine warmth. Some even stopped him in the grocery store to say thank you for standing up for what's right. He didn't crave the praise, but it helped. It reminded him that the truth still mattered to some people. The school buzzed with unexpected good news. The science team, which Jack quietly advised alongside Sarah, had qualified for the national competition in Chicago. The students were ecstatic, and for Jack, it felt like a full-circle moment, proof that doing the right thing didn't mean giving up on your passion. One afternoon, while reviewing student essays, an email appeared in his inbox from a prestigious academy in Oregon. They'd seen the local news coverage and read testimonials from students and parents. The subject line was simple: "Teaching position. Are you open to new horizons?" It stopped him cold. He clicked it open. A full-time position, better pay, smaller class sizes, a chance to help shape curriculum. A fresh start. For the first time in a long while, Jack allowed himself to imagine something beyond the familiar halls of his current school, beyond the lingering whispers, beyond Megan. He forwarded the offer to Sarah, who replied within seconds. "You deserve this." He didn't say yes. Not yet. But he began to picture a life not defined by betrayal, but by possibility. And that, for the first time in months, made him smile. The knock on Jack's door came just after sunset. He opened it to find Megan standing there, her eyes tired, a cardboard box in her arms. She looked smaller than before, like the past few weeks had worn her down to her edges. "I just came for the rest of my things," she said softly. Jack stepped aside. "They're in the guest room." She nodded, walking past him like a ghost of the life they once shared. No drama, no small talk, just quiet steps and the rustling of bubble wrap. When she returned to the living room, box in hand, she hesitated at the door. "Jack," her voice broke a little. "I know I don't deserve anything, but She swallowed hard. "I miss you. United States. I made the worst mistake of my life, and if there's even a sliver of a chance, I'd fight for it." Jack met her eyes, kind but steady. "I know you're sorry, Megan, and I believe that. But some things break in ways that can't be repaired." She blinked fast, trying to hold back tears. "I thought I wanted forgiveness," she whispered, "but maybe I was just hoping you'd still see me." "I do," Jack said. He reached to the table beside him and picked up an envelope. "I wrote this after the retreat. I didn't know if I'd give it to you, but I think you should have it." She took the envelope like it might shatter. "What is it?" "Closure. Honesty. What I couldn't say that night." Megan looked at him for a long time, then nodded. "Thank you." He opened the door for her, and she stepped into the fading light. She didn't look back. Later, in her small apartment, she opened the letter. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't angry. It was heartbreakingly human. Jack wrote about their early days, the joy, the dreams, then the silence that crept in, the pain of watching love slip away. He wrote that he hoped she'd find herself again, not through anyone else, but on her own. "We weren't meant to last forever, but I hope this helps you begin again." Megan wept, not because she lost him, but because in that moment she finally saw herself clearly. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first step toward redemption. Absolutely. Here's the emotional final stretch of your story. Farewell and emotional send-off. And conclusion. 2 lives, 2 roads, each at about 400 words. Let me know if you want an alternate ending or a continuation someday. The morning of Jack's departure was quiet, at first. He loaded the last box into his car, his old classroom posters rolled and packed neatly in the trunk. The sun had just begun to stretch over the rooftops, painting the town in soft gold. Jack stood in the driveway, sipping coffee from his favorite mug, unsure how to say goodbye to a place that had held both his highest and lowest moments. Then he heard it. A car honked down the block. Then another. He turned to find a small crowd forming. Students, parents, teachers, even neighbors from streets over. They held signs, flowers, gift bags. Some wore school t-shirts. Others clutched notebooks for last-minute signatures. "Mr. Lawson," a student shouted, "we made you something." They handed him a scrapbook, each page filled with messages and photos. "Thank you for believing in me. You changed my life. We'll never forget you." Jack blinked back emotion. He hadn't expected this. One parent approached with her hand extended. "You reminded this town that character still matters." "Thank you." More voices chimed in, the goodbyes turning into a gentle chorus of gratitude and well-wishing. As Jack looked out over the group, his eyes caught on a figure standing beneath a tree across the street. Megan. She wasn't holding anything. She didn't wave. She just watched. Quiet. Alone. Her eyes reflecting something between sorrow and acceptance. Jack gave a small nod. She returned it. That was all. No words. Just one final look between people who had shared a life and were now letting it go. Jack turned, opened the car door, and started the engine. As he pulled away, the crowd waved and cheered, their voices fading behind him. And for the first time in months, Jack felt something settle in his chest. Peace. Not because everything had been fixed, but because he'd chosen to move forward anyway. Jack's new school stood on a tree-lined campus just outside Portland. Clean, modern, quiet. The kind of place that believed in potential overtest scores. He slipped into the rhythm quickly. Morning classes, mentoring sessions, early evening hikes. His laughter returned, softer now, but real. Students warmed to him fast. He challenged them, inspired them, reminded them that failure was part of growth. In the evenings, he sometimes sat alone on the porch of his small cottage, a book in one hand, tea in the other. The past still visited him occasionally, but it no longer stayed long. His life wasn't perfect, but it was his again. Across the country, in a quiet apartment with creaky floors, Megan unpacked groceries for one. She'd started seeing a therapist. She re-enrolled in a part-time course on counseling and spent her weekends volunteering at a local community theater. No one whispered her name anymore. The spotlight had moved on. And that was okay. She read Jack's letter often, creased and worn from too many openings, not out of longing, but because it reminded her of who she didn't want to be again. One day, she'd like to write back, not to rekindle, just to say, I'm doing better now. Thank you for helping me see myself. Their paths no longer crossed, but echoes of their story remained. In classrooms filled with eager minds, in choices made quietly, with intention, in the way one heartbreak set two people on roads they might never have taken otherwise. Because life doesn't always offer second chances, but it always offers new ones. And somewhere between the broken pieces and the rebuilt ones, both Jack and Megan began again. Not as they were, but as who they were meant to become.